Greetings, y'all, from inside my new to me rig. This is my 2007 Suburban. And yes, I will be doing a tour video, but right now I am too hot thinking about solar and how people either aren't sold the right systems because they don't know the right questions to ask, or they don't buy the right components themselves. And yes, I include myself in that august group of not getting the right stuff because I didn't do the math. Benefit from my mistakes. See what you can do about getting the best system for your buck. Mo bang for your buck. Hi, Tim. This is going to be part 2 of avoiding costly solar purchases or decisions or whatever that was called. This is not going to cover the costs of components and what you should buy using that metric, but how much panel and battery do you need for the devices you plan on using? And I realize there are lots of different sources one could use to make these calculations, but I'm using what I'm using. Think January. Think dark by 5 p.m. Think bare minimum sun available, and think maximum power usage on your devices. This is the math you need to be using, even though you're in the desert and it's warm in the winter, there's less sun available. Yes, there are several months in the summer where there's optimal sunlight available, but this is not the math that's going to save your butt when you run out of power. We'll start with a minimum 100 watt panel just to make the math easier. And I'm also not going to muddy the waters with amp hours and all that other stuff. In the winter, it's possible to get about 8 hours of sunlight, but of those hours, 3 are typically when you can get the most sun, and the other 5 hours are going to generate much less. I'll do that math for you. It's a whopping 405 watt hours for the day using a 100 watt panel. If you've got 200 watts of panel, that's 810 watt hours. 300 watts of panel, 1215 watt hours. And 400 watts of panel, 1620 watt hours. That's how much juice you can regenerate through the solar panel during the day. But the sun goes down at 5 o'clock-ish, and you're still using power. If you plan to work on the road, you're going to need a certain amount of saved power to start out with in the morning and anticipate how much you're going to be using during the day. Next step, how many watt hours does your battery hold fully charged? I'll use mine as an example. It holds 2,048 watt hours. It also has other numbers associated with it in the fancy marketing, like the model is 2000, and there is a surge capability of 2,400 watts, but the usage is 2,048 watt hours. That battery is considered a portable power bank. If you're considering going with lithium batteries that are 100 amp hours, that equals about 1,200 watt hours per battery. If you get 2, then you're working with about 2,400 watt hours. If you have a battery already, find out what its capacity is in watt hours. If you don't, we'll continue with using my examples. So let's get to the next part where we bring all of these pieces together and find out how much juice are you going to be using. That will help you determine the number of solar panels and the size of the battery you need to get. I've calculated the usage of my new system with a fridge and an induction cooktop for high usage, medium usage, and low usage. The high usage column includes running my fridge 24 hours all the time and using my rice cooker and my water kettle and my induction cooktop every day. That parasitic draw at the bottom is just a container for any usage that I might not be accounting for right now. My total estimated usage is 1,964 watts. Let's just round that up to 2,000. In the winter, even 400 watts of solar panel isn't going to give you what you need. Now let's move to the medium usage column. I've adjusted the fridge to 16 hours instead of 24, and I'm not using the rice cooker that day, which drops me to about 1,200 watt hours. And if I have a 300 watt panel set up, I can generate about that much juice that day. Now let's look at the low usage column. The fridge is down to 8 hours, which probably isn't quite reasonable, but we're gonna leave it for now. The rice cooker and the induction cooktop are at 0, which brings us to about 600 watt hours, and only a 200 watt panel will handle that with 810 watt hours. You'll notice my setup does not include a laptop. I only use a tablet. It does not include any other kitchen appliances, and it does not include a device like a Starlink to pull in internet. But what if it did? I've gone with an estimation of using a laptop and something like a Starlink to be around 1200 watts for a 10-hour day, and adjusted the scenario of how many watts of panel and how many panels and batteries you would need to accommodate that situation. As you can see, the number of panels and the number of batteries goes up significantly.